Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the DC Capstone Report. It's great to be back with you talking about another Alabama victory over Tennessee. I hope all of you traditionalists out there got to smoke a cigar after the victory. 14 in a row over the Tennessee Volunteers. Well, today in the podcast, we're going to look in the first segment about the Tennessee game. We're going to review the Tennessee game. In the second segment, we're going to take a look at our standout players of the game. And in the third and final segment, we're going to turn our attention to the preview of the Mississippi State Bulldogs as they roll into town. You're listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is featured each Tuesday morning on the Martin Houston Show at Tide 100.9. You can listen live at Tide100.9.com. Well, it's great to be back with another DC Capstone Report. Lance and I always are appreciative of everyone who listens to our podcast each and every week. It's a fun thing for us to do. We really enjoy it. But when we see others sharing our podcast and talking about it, we really appreciate that because it lets us know that you like what we're doing. So we thank you for tuning in. Today on the first segment, we're going to review the game against Tennessee, the Tennessee Volunteers. As I said in our opening, 14th straight victory. Alabama got to light up the victory cigars. It was great to see the pictures after the game from the locker room and different areas of the students enjoying their cigars and this tradition. That tradition goes back a long time. It was Coach Goosetree who started this tradition of lighting up a cigar after Alabama hadn't beaten Tennessee in a long time. I think around the 1964. Coach Bryan was coach and Coach Goosetree was a trainer. And he started this great tradition. He told the players if they would win, he would dance naked in the locker room while smoking a cigar. And there's a great picture of him with a towel around him dancing, smoking a cigar. And that started the tradition for the victor of the Alabama-Tennessee game to smoke cigars. And that's where that comes from, that history. It's a lot rivalry. It goes a long way between both sides. And it's a bitter rivalry. Alabama has really had the upper hand the last 14 times, but this goes way back into the history of the Alabama-Tennessee game. It's really a good rivalry and a good game for us and a great victory for us. Well, looking at the game itself, first off, right out of the gate, I want to talk about our defense. I know our defense has been much maligned by some of our own fans and talking about the problems that we've had. But the one thing I like about this defense is it continued to improve each and every week that they're going out to take the field. And I think we show great progress on our defensive side of the ball. All you got to do is look at some of the statistics coming out of this game. In this game, Alabama had 30 first downs compared to Tennessee 16 first downs. And one thing I thought we improved on was our third down efficiency. In other words, we got off the field on third down on defense. Tennessee was 4 of 16 on third downs and 2 of 4 on fourth downs. Now, we had some breakdowns where the quarterback was able to take on those fourth down plays, and it seemed like it was our old self. But when you read and dissect this defensive play, it seemed to make some progress on third down efficiency. So I think that was a big factor in the game, getting off the field on third downs. We also caused a fumble in this game. It was a scoop and score for a touchdown from Malachi Moore. It's great to see our defense getting in the habit of trying to make big explosive plays on defense. I thought we stopped the run better in this game than we had in prior games. Tennessee didn't have a single rusher over 100 yards in this game. Their leading rusher was Eric Gray, number 3, which did a good job. He had 19 carries for 57 yards. That's a 3-yard average. Their second leading rusher, Ty Chandler, he had 10 rushes for 37 yards, so a 3.7-yard average. So holding them under 4 yards a carry. They didn't have a 100-yard rusher. I think we really did a good job in this game of improving on our run defense. And that credit has to go to our up front 7, our linemen and our linebackers playing their gap, staying at home, not giving those big gash plays where we give up 40 or 50 yards on a run. And I thought we really did a good job. So we had some young players step up on the line because Bryan Ray was injured and he hadn't gotten back to full strength to be able to play in this game. So we had some young players that stepped up that contributed and did a really good job on the line play. So I think our line play improved. I think our linebackers did real well with Dylan Moses and Christian Harris staying in their gaps and supporting the run game. And then we had our some of our safeties and cornerbacks even coming up to make some plays. It was a play in the run game where Malachi Moore came up as the dime back, the nickel back, and stopped that run on the outside and was able to strip the ball and scoop and score for the touchdown. So overall, I think our defensive play was really good. Now on the passing side of the game, we gave up 163 yards passing. And I believe that was an improvement as well. In my opinion, our pass coverage on the outside was really, really good. I think Josh Jobe and Patrick Surtain did a good job on coverages. And when they tried to isolate the freshman Malachi Moore in coverages on a slot receiver, that didn't do well for him either. He was able to cover most everything that Tennessee threw at him in the passing game. So we hold them under no 100-yard rushers, and we didn't have but any 100-yard receivers in this game. So, I think overall, the overall play of the defense was really, really good. I see a lot of progress in this game, and they'll continue to be tested in the coming days. Our offensive side of the ball, well, I think our offense played really well, but we have to talk about the elephant in the room, if you will, of what happened on offense. It was the very first play of the game that took out our number one playmaker, probably the most exciting playmaker in the whole college football, but definitely number one playmaker on our team. That's Jalen Waddle. All of you know by now that Jalen Waddle ran the first kick back for a 15-yard gain, and he was rolled up on by the defender on his ankle. I think pending further results with the MRI, intention was he would have to have surgery to repair and be lost for the season. When you lose a playmaker like Jalen Waddle on the first play of the game, that can devastate and demoralize an offense. Well, I think I need to give Alabama's offensive credit. Their stick-to-itiveness, their toughness really showed. You can see the demeanor on the sideline change as they began to get the news that began to filter down to the players that Waddle was out for the game and it was a significant injury. And then later when the ambulance was shown leaving the field, with Waddle in it to go to the hospital, I think it really resonated with the players on the sideline. You can see it on Najee Harris's face when they showed him when he should have been excited about some touchdowns and plays he made. You can see it on the offensive lineman's face. You can see it on the receiving corps. It was definitely a blow to this Alabama offense in losing Jalen Waddle. And I mean a blow, I mean a psychological blow, because you lose a compadre, a friend, a trench warrior, if you will. It does something to you. And I think that Alabama could have really tanked this game on offense, but they didn't. And that shows the competitive spirit of this Alabama team on offense. This is a different Alabama offensive team this year. I think, when you have a player go down, you can be disappointed over it, you can be discouraged over it, and you're certainly hurt for that player. But it's next man up in this offense, and who is going to be the next man? Well, Slade Bolden comes in and takes over for Jalen Waddle. You can't replace a Jalen Waddle with anybody. But Slade Bolden came in and did an ample job. He did lose a fumble. He needs to work on that, but he did an ample job in coming in and taking up some of those plays. But John Metchie really stepped up in this game and was able to provide some of the yardage that may have been missed by Jalen Waddle. Slade Bolden stepped up and had 94 yards, and Devonta Smith had 73. So Najee Harris kind of increased in the passing game as well. So the question about in this game was Alabama still going to be an offensive juggernaut without Jalen Waddle on the field? I think it proved that it did a great job in that. Mac Jones was 25 of 31 for 387 yards passing. I think we ran the ball well. Najee Harris had 20 carries for 96 yards for a 4.8 yard average. He had three more touchdowns for Najee Harris in this game. So Bryan Robinson got some good action. He averaged 7.2 yards a carry. And when Trey Sanders was in there, he averaged 5.6 yards a carry. So there were multiple players that got to run the ball in this game. So I think that goes credit to our offensive line play. Our offensive line play was stellar in the Tennessee game and did a great job of not only protecting Mac Jones and giving him an opportunity to throw the ball, but gave a great job of opening up some holes for Najee Harris and Bryan Robinson. So I think overall our offensive play in the game was really good. I think our special teams, our punting, seemed to be a little better with Charlie Scott. Made the change at punter. We took Charlie Scott there. That's the younger brother of J.K. Scott. He's a transfer in from Air Force. I think he did a good job getting the ball higher for coverage's sake, and so he may be your punter going forward. And on our kicking, Will Riker did a great job in the Tennessee game. He was perfect on his as he has been for the season on his extra points and on his field goals. So overall review of this Tennessee game was it was a devastating loss, of course, leaving this game without Jalen Waddle for the year. But the Alabama team really stepped up on offense and did a good job. The question will remain, what will we do for the rest of the year without the playmaker, Jalen Waddle? Well, in the second segment, we're going to look at the standout players of the game. What were my standout players of the game? Well, let's first go to the offensive side of the ball. And I think we got to start with John Metchie. John Metchie stepped up in his receiving. He had 7 catches for 151 yards. Did a great job of competing for 50-50 balls. He did great route running. He had great hands in this game. We had to look for someone who was going to step up and provide that offensive spark with Jalen Waddle out. No one can match his speed. No one can match his elusiveness. But John Metchie did a great job of being, he's the one that Jalen Waddle said had sneaky speed. He did a good job of getting behind the receivers and competing for 50-50 balls. And so he was one of my outstanding offensive players of the game. Another has to be Najee Harris. It seemed like every week Najee Harris has another great performance. Didn't top 100 yards in this game. He could have. He just got set and rested some. But 20 carries for 96 yards, 4.8 yard average, but had 3 rushing touchdowns. And should have had another one. I think on one of the ones that we called him short, he may have been in the end zone, but we got in on a sneak anyway from Mac Jones. But did a good job in the game, so he was one of my standout players of the game on offense. Another standout player of the game on offense I want to mention is someone that gets overlooked, but his name is Landon Dickerson. In this game, he played center, he played guard, he was all over the field making blocks. He just has a sense on this offensive line, a sense of urgency about him, whatever position he's playing, whether he's playing center, whether he's playing guard. When Deontay Brown went down with a little arm injury, he slid right out to Deontay Brown's spot. Chris Owens came in and played center, and we didn't lose any continuity across the board. We still ran the ball well. We still had good pass protection. But Landon Dickerson seems to be the bell cow on this offensive line. The way he plays, he lifts the other players around him, and everyone plays with aggression. When Landon Dickerson out there, he doesn't take a play off. He's always on and always plays with a sense of urgency. So I like that about him. So Landon Dickerson is one of my standout players of the game on offense. Let's go over to the defense now and look at some of the standout players of the game. I think the first one on defense has to be the play of freshman Malachi Moore. Malachi Moore is one of my standout players of the game, of the Tennessee game on defense. He had the scoop and score, and that was a great highlight film where he got in and raked that ball out, picked it up, and then took it to the house for 6. But he did much more than just that in the game. He covered his receivers one-on-one when given the opportunity. He stayed with them in coverage. He did press coverage. He did zone coverage. He was able to combo coverage sometimes and pass off to the right person, and did a really good job in this game. So I just feel like that as a freshman, he has exceeded everybody's expectations on what he could do in this defensive backfield. And we knew this defensive backfield was going to be young coming in. We knew the defensive backfield might be the weak link, but Malachi Moore has been a really surprise and to step up and fill a good a need there for another alpha dog in that defensive backfield. So I think Malachi Moore is a standout player of the game against Tennessee, in my opinion. The other standout player for the game on defense in the defensive backfield has to be Josh Jobe. It seemed like every time they throw toward Josh Jobe, he was in position. He had his man covered. He didn't give up any big plays. Patrick Surtain on the other side always gets the credit, and he should. He was my standout player of the game last week. He did a great job in this game as well. It's hard to knock what he did, but when Josh Jobe was in the game, he did a great job at the corner. And I think that we have really got 2 good corners in Surtain and Jobe. And with Malachi Moore coming on as a freshman like he is, that those cornerbacks and those star receivers, defensive backs have really done a good job in coverage. Another standout player of the game was on the defensive line. With LeBron Ray out with the injury, the question was who's going to step up, who's going to have that big game and step up. Well, I think one of the young players that stepped up in this game was Bryan Young. Bryan Young, if you watch the film, he'll jump out on you as a twitch. He has a good twitch, a good first step, a great instinct. And I think several times he was in the backfield on run-stopping plays, and he's one of the reasons that we were able to hold the rushers, getting some stops at the line of scrimmage before they get to the second level, from holding their rushers from gashing us for big plays. We hadn't had that. We've had some problems with that in the first couple of games. So I think Bryan Young has done a really good job of the run defense, and so that's why he is one of my standout players of this game. Another standout player of the game on the defensive line that doesn't get a lot of credit is Phindarian Mathis. If you watch Phindarian Mathis in this game, he handled combo blocks. At one point, he is being blocked by 3 Tennessee guys, and he still pushes them off and makes the play on the runner at the line of scrimmage to get off the field on third down and short. And so if you watch his play, he has really improved his run play. So I think the combination of him, Bryan Young, and Christian Barmore has really improved. And now with some younger guys stepping up like Tim Smith and Jamil Burroughs and even Latham, these guys, the freshmen that are give some help, give us a lot of added depth on that defensive line. So there you go. My standout players of the game on offense are John Metchie, Najee Harris, and Landon Dickerson. And on defense, Malachi Moore, Josh Jobe, Bryan Young, and Phindarian Mathis. Well, we come to the third and final segment on the day's DC Capstone Report, and we're going to preview the upcoming game against the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Mississippi State Bulldogs make the short trip from Starkville, Mississippi, over to Alabama, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, for a 6 p.m. kickoff on Halloween night. Well, because it's on Halloween night and it's Nick Saban's birthday, has the Pirate, now the coach over there, Mike Leach at Mississippi State, does he have something up his sleeve that could cause problems for Alabama on a Halloween night in Bryant-Denny Stadium? Well, I think we need to be careful in this game because we don't need any type of trap game to get us off our game. One thing first we need to be careful about is we don't need a letdown after an emotional Tennessee victory, especially an emotional way we handled that after Jalen Waddle went down. We don't need any letdown because we don't have Waddle playing this game. We need to step up, if you will. This week, Slade Bolden is going to have an opportunity to be in the offensive game plan more. So we might see more production out of him. But also we need some other young receivers to step up. So I think this is where you're going to see the guy that I spoke about early on in preseason about somebody who was turning heads in practice, and that is Javon Baker, number 5. I look for you to see him try to step up and give some more playing time, get him more involved in the offense. I think he is a playmaker. Also, Trayshawn Holden. I think he will have an opportunity to step up and do some in this game. So look for them to be more involved in practice this week with the game planning, and you might see them get some snaps in this game to help. Defenses are going to play us different without Jalen Waddle in the game. There's no doubt about that. So what do we need to do? We need to use the playmakers we got in Devontae Smith and John Metchie by putting them on the same side of the field so they can't double team one of them. Having Jalen Waddle on the same side of the field with one of them was a reason they couldn't be double teamed before. And then Jalen Waddle had the opportunity every time to break the double team because of his speed. So you're going to look for Alabama to put John Metchie and Devontae Smith on the same side in pass schemes and allow them so they won't be able to double team on that side. If they do, continue to try to stop one of those two playmakers and look for Slade Bolden or Javon Baker or Miller Forstall or Najee Harris to step up and have a big game in this game, catching passes. But I don't think we're going to have a letdown offensively. I think Mac Jones is still going to be on. I think this is going to be prime for him to have another 400-yard passing day. So I think he's going to have an opportunity to really pick apart this Mississippi State secondary. As far as what we need to do on offense, I think we need to run the ball to set up the pass. I think the Mike Leach, his defenses in the past, has had a hard time stopping the run. So if we run the ball to set up the pass, it will keep them on their toes. It'll be an opportunity for us to to take advantage of this Mike Leach defense. What do we need to do on defense? Well, they're going to bring tempo. They're going to bring a fast-paced play to us, to every play. They're going to do a lot of motion, and they're going to try to get the passing game in a lot of short passes, mid-range passes, then take a shot down the field every now and then. So what we need to do is we need to not be fooled by their motion and not be influenced by their up-tempo style. We need to be ready to play and look for anything that the Pirate might throw at us. I think our defense comes out of this game and is ready to show up and do a good job. I think they're progressing every week. I think they've showed a weekly progression. And I believe if we watch the film, as I think we do, and we study it, we'll see that after the LSU game, LSU tried to match up one-on-one against the playmakers that Mississippi State has, and that didn't bode well for them. I think that if we can use combo coverage of man and zone, or use a zone, try to get the quarterback there at Mississippi State, Costello, to throw in the coverage, our defensive backs will have an opportunity to pick off a lot of those passes, like many others have proven to be able to do. So I look for Alabama to come out in this game offensively and be the juggernaut that they have been so far, not have a letdown. I look for the defense to progress and really do a good job of stopping this Mississippi State game. And I think on Halloween night in Bryant-Denny Stadium, Alabama comes away with a big victory, 52-17 over the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Well, that's the DC Capstone Report for this week. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you will share this podcast with all your friends. Like it on our Facebook page. Go to our DC Capstone Report page and look at the pictures that Lance put up, or check us out, his pictures out at RollTideBama.com or FreelancePictures.com. Again, this is DC with the DC Capstone Report, signing off with a big Roll Tide.